Acts of the Apostles. And again, we're getting a glimpse into the very beginning of the church. And we actually have in today's gospel, or today's first reading, the appointment of the first class of deacons. The apostles are getting there, they're celebrating Mass, and they're tending to the things of reflecting and praying together in the houses and so forth at the very beginning. And they recognize a need to go out and have more ministry. They recognize that they're not able to do the ministry out in the world, caring for the widows and the poor, that they would like. So they appoint some of their members to be deacons who help oversee that extended ministry beyond just the walls of the churches, so to speak. And it took me back actually to something that might sound strange at first, but I was thinking about how a lot of times I think many people, we kind of look back on our childhood as kind of a nostalgic time, and we maybe think, if we could just, that might be nice to get the whole gang back together, and we look forward to, maybe we have family reunions and so on and so forth. Maybe it's the holidays, whatever it is. We look forward to those opportunities to get the family back together, get the gang back together. And I know sometimes we're tempted to think, it'd be nice if we could maybe just kind of get back together and kind of live together again, or get the gang back together on a permanent basis. And I was thinking about that, and I had a flashback to a couple of Christmases ago with my own family, being the oldest of 11. And certainly there's times we think, oh man, it'd be great, just to get everybody back. I have one brother living in Rome and another living in LA, and brothers and sisters are getting married and having children. And so I remember thinking about 2 or 3 years ago, I can't remember, but it was a Christmas, and I was heading back, and I was just really excited and thinking, this is great. The whole family's back together again, and we'll all be under one roof, and it'll be a lot of fun. Well, when I walked in, I could tell that something was going on that wasn't quite right, and I learned later that there had been, among a couple of siblings who are in their late 20s, a fight on Christmas morning over a seat. I think one sister stole a sister-in-law's seat on accident, and my brother got mad at my other sister for stealing the seat. And it was tense, when I walked in. And I'm like, so maybe it won't be such a great thing to get everybody back together again. And then, a few hours later, one brother in his late 20s and another brother in his early 30s got in a little bit of a disagreement. And it was over something really mature. Our mom gets us all, for Christmas, every year we get a box of junk cereal, is what we call it. Because when we were growing up, all we got was like wheat puffs or something like that. That was like our cereal. But on Christmas, we would get a sugar cereal. And so she's kept that going, right? Even though I'm 34, I still get a box of cereal for Christmas, and with sugar in it. And so that particular Christmas morning, one brother in his early 30s took a bowl of cereal from another brother in his late 20s from his cereal. And it turned into a much bigger issue than you would ever imagine, and that it should ever have been, right? So it was a good reminder that maybe it's not such a great thing if we were all moved back in together, and maybe it's good that we're starting to spread out a little bit and get out into the world. Of course, that was a couple of humorous reminders to me in a real way. But again, the reason I bring that up, and I think how that hopefully maybe ties in with the first reading, is that when we turn in on ourselves as a family, as a church, as an individual, whenever we turn in on ourselves, it becomes unhealthy pretty quickly. And when we're not out doing what we're supposed to be doing, when we're not out in the world, when we're not out ministering and caring for the poor, it becomes unhealthy. Because we're not being what God made us to be. We've kind of turned in on ourselves. Pope Francis has described this as he talks about the church, and he says when the church turns in on itself, he describes it as when the church stares at its belly button, right? And I think that's a great image. When it turns in on itself, and we start to just think of, so for example, when the people who are here right now, when these are the only people that we kind of this is our idea of what it means to be church, well, then we kind of, there's always bickering that breaks out and fights and disputes and hey, this and all that. That's every church. When we're not out also going out from here like the apostles realized and caring for the widows, caring for the sick, caring for the elderly, caring for the poor. When we're not out doing that, when what we do here today, when that doesn't lead us and send us out on a trajectory out into the world, well, then we turn in on ourselves and we become a diseased community, a sick community, an unhealthy community. It's great to get back together for a short time, right? For an hour a week for Mass. It's great to get together and to do things during the week if it's RCIA or soup and Catholicism or whatever it might be. Those kind of things are great. But if we're not going out, if we're always here, or if this is our idea of church, is to just come here and it doesn't have with it that command to go out, well, then we very quickly get frustrated with each other and we get sick of seeing each other and we get sick of hanging out and we get mad at each other. And it's not the image of church that Christ gave us. And so we need to be making sure that we're doing what the apostles did. Yes, we come here. Yes, we pray. That's one of the commandments. We come to church. But alongside that, here, this place, when we take communion and we come here and we pray, that sends us out. And if we don't go out, if we're not doing those things, then we become unhealthy because we're not being who God made us to be. And so we're not realizing our potential, and we very quickly get frustrated because we're not living the life that Christ gave us. Christ said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. You're not going to see the Father unless you go through me, unless you do the things that I've asked. He's not saying because I'm going to punish you. He's saying because you're not living as I'm asking you to live, and you will then be unhappy. So we pray for the strength to trust Christ's way, to not try and do it our own way, because when we do it our own way, we become unhappy, we become sick, we become diseased, and we're not living the authentic Christian life. May we recognize the joy that Christ is extending to us and live the way that He has asked by coming here, but also after coming here, going out into the world and serving those who are in need.